Who has the nuclear codes? Think about it. The only answer to that question, the only honest answer to that question tonight, for the first time in history, is we don't know. We don't know who has the nuclear codes. We don't know who has what inside the Trump government. We don't know who is doing what inside the Trump government. But we do know they are doing things that have never been done before and that are illegal. We know that those things are not legal. We know that Donald Trump has given Elon Musk the domestic equivalent of the nuclear codes, the keys to the Treasury of the United States of America. In the biggest, most important data breach in the history of the world, Elon Musk has gone where no political operative has ever gone before. He has gone where no Treasury secretary has ever gone before. And that is to the innermost sanctum of the United States Treasury, where your money is collected and spent, where your name is collected, where your Social Security number is collected, where your baby's Social Security number is collected on day one of your baby's life. Most people working for the Treasury Department don't even know where that is. No one in politics, which very much includes every Treasury Secretary, because they are appointed by politicians, has ever even shown an interest in trying to get at the actual payment mechanisms operated by the United States Treasury. And of all the horrendous things that have happened in the Trump regime just in the last weekend, nothing is potentially more dangerous than that. Nothing is more corrupt than that. Donald Trump's Treasury Secretary is now the first Treasury Secretary in history who should be impeached. Impeached for handing those keys to the Treasury to Elon Musk. It would be like having the richest customer of a bank telling the bank president, hey, I want to see everyone else's accounts at the bank. And the bank president just opens the books to let the richest customer of the bank see and do whatever he wants. And to extend this example a bit, imagine that the richest customer of that bank actually hates that bank and is fully loyal to another bank. And that bank is in China, and his business and wealth is completely dependent on the good graces of the government of China. What are the chances that Elon Musk would let his friends in the Chinese government know a little bit more or a lot more about the inner workings of the United States Treasury? Does anyone think there is a zero chance of that happening? A zero chance? Does anyone think that Elon Musk, the most erratic public figure in the world, not named Donald Trump, can actually be trusted with anything? We have no idea what Elon Musk and the very young men with him are doing inside the Treasury of the United States. No one knows. Donald Trump doesn't even know. The one thing we do know is there's nothing good that they can do inside the Treasury of the United States. And the other thing we know is that nothing like this has ever happened before in the history of the United States of America. On Friday, the career Treasury official who has served under every Republican and every Democratic president of the last 30 years, David Lebrick, resigned from the Treasury after Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent pushed him out of his position and handed the keys to the Treasury to Elon Musk. And for that, the Treasury Secretary should be impeached. Won't be, of course, but should. Republicans would never conduct an impeachment against anyone in Trump world. Donald Trump is deliberately creating so many distractions that it's hard for people to know which ones are serious. And every word Donald Trump says about Greenland, I think, is not serious and can be ignored. And we know, as I always suspected, every word Donald Trump says about tariffs is not serious and can be ignored because at the last minute, as he did today, Donald Trump will back down, as he did back down today, from his threat of tariffs, especially when the stock market crashes for a couple of hours because of those threats. The news media finally decided to pay attention to tariffs just this weekend. 60 Minutes actually instructed its viewers last night that it is not foreign countries who pay Trump tariffs. It is the audience of 60 Minutes in the United States, Americans, who pay Trump tariffs. It would have been a nice thing for 60 Minutes to tell its viewers something like that during the presidential campaign. But they finally got around to it last night because 60 Minutes fell for Donald Trump's phony threats about imposing insanely high tariffs, which are also illegal on Canada and Mexico. Tariffs, like taxes, are set in law by Congress, not the president. In fact, NAFTA, which Donald Trump criticized so intently, is simply a law that adjusted the tariffs, mostly lowering them, that the United States imposed on goods coming into the country from Mexico. Donald Trump claimed to hate NAFTA, and so in his first term as president, he updated it, which is a perfectly normal thing for the government to do with trade agreements like that. Every decade or so, they should be updated. And Donald Trump's update of NAFTA was passed through Congress, and that's how it became the new law governing all international trade between Canada, the United States, and Mexico, all of North America, the North American Free Trade Agreement. And so the tariff laws that we are living with tonight for Mexico and Canada were written by Donald Trump and the Republican Congress who updated NAFTA. And this is what Donald Trump said about how great that law was when he was president.
For the first time in American history, we have replaced a disastrous trade deal that rewarded outsourcing with a truly fair and reciprocal trade deal that will keep jobs, wealth, and growth right here in America.
Wow, great. It was great. It was the best trade deal ever in history, according to Donald Trump. And today, the man who said that about that North American trade deal with Canada and Mexico that he negotiated said this.
We have big deficits with Canada, like we do with all countries. I mean, I look at some of the deals made, I say, who the hell made these deals that are so bad?
You made those deals with Canada and with Mexico. And it is Donald Trump's own deal with Canada and Mexico that he is now complaining about and says he wants to violate. Donald Trump's update of NAFTA was done the legal way through Congress. The only legal way a president can raise or lower a tariff is for national security reasons, no other reason. And there is not a single tariff that can be imposed on Canada for national security reasons. There is not a single tariff that can be imposed on Mexico for national security reasons. And so those threatened Trump tariffs are illegal. And they are yet another proof for anyone who needs it that we are not a nation of laws. There is much to ignore in what Donald Trump says. And on this program, I'll only try to direct your attention to the things that Donald Trump does that really matter. And what Donald Trump and Elon Musk are doing at the Treasury is something no one should ignore. No one knows what they are doing at the Treasury. That is what really matters about it. And so in the second coming of Donald Trump, the myths fell away. Myths like we are a nation of laws. That is one of America's most flattering and false self-delusions. We are, and we have always, what we are and what we've always been, is a nation of laws for some people and not for others. The original law of the land, the Constitution, was written exclusively by propertied white men for propertied white men alone to enjoy all the legal rights granted under the Constitution. By 1975, we had more rights than ever before in our history, to regard ourselves as a nation of laws in the best sense of that idea. The Voting Rights Act was 10 years old then. At that point, black people were finally taking their rightful place in the American electorate all over the country. And in 1975, it was the law that closed in on Republican President Richard Nixon for the crimes he committed in office and drove him to resign the presidency. A true triumph for a nation of laws. And if you lived through that period, you had every right to believe that we were a nation of laws. But Donald Trump and the Supreme Court justices he appointed and the Republican members of the House and Senate have proved to you in the last year in every way that they possibly could that we are not a nation of laws. All the worst things Donald Trump has done in the last few days are against the law, all of them. Law that turns out to be unenforceable against Donald Trump or against his friend, the private citizen Elon Musk, whose American citizenship is his third choice of citizenship. After first South African citizenship, then Canadian citizenship, and now finally his third choice, American citizenship. Not all violations of law are crimes. When Donald Trump violates the law by freezing some federal spending, as he did last week, no one can be charged with a crime. So lawyers run into federal court and they sue Donald Trump and the federal government for freezing that funding, and then they get an injunction in the case. They win that point with the judge. They got an injunction against Donald Trump for freezing the funding. And Donald Trump is still freezing that funding because that injunction and the law behind it is effectively unenforceable against Donald Trump. Because no, we are not a nation of laws. Among the other Trump horrors that really matter is Donald Trump giving the richest person in the world the illegal authority to take aid away from the poorest people in the world. 10 years before, Elon Musk was born into privilege on the white side of apartheid in South Africa. The President of the United States said this.
Our efforts to help other new or developing nations and to strengthen their standards for freedom have also made progress. A new unified agency for international development is reorienting our foreign assistance to emphasize long-term development loans instead of grants, more economic aid instead of military, individual plans to meet the individual needs of the nations, and new standards on what they must do to marshal their own resources.
This weekend, Elon Musk said, USAID is a criminal organization, time for it to die. The United States Congress created the United States Agency for International Development in a law signed by President Kennedy. And Elon Musk claims now to have the power to kill it. In a nation of laws, that cannot happen. How long has Elon Musk hated the United States Agency for International Development? Did he begin hating it when USAID was supporting the American government foreign policy of opposition to apartheid in South Africa, when Elon Musk was benefiting from apartheid in South Africa? Is that how Elon Musk learned to hate that branch of American government that helps the poorest people in the world? There is life-saving medicine rotting on loading docks in Africa right now, because Elon Musk has decided there is not a single poor person in the world who should be receiving any help from the United States of America tonight for anything. What kind of sociopaths want mothers to watch their babies die in African countries tomorrow and the next day and the next day? What kind of sociopaths want people to starve? And you can't say, oh, they don't want babies to die. They don't want people to starve. That's not their intention. When you stop the movement of food supplies to starving people, you are starving those people. When you stop the delivery of life-saving medicine, you don't get to say that you don't want anyone to die. What they're doing is immoral and it is illegal. In a nation of laws, an American government agency created by Congress and President Kennedy by law can only be stopped by Congress passing another law signed by another president. That's how it works in a nation of laws. The new Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, stepped in to run interference for Elon Musk today by declaring himself the acting administrator for the United States Agency for International Development, before then announcing that he was putting a State Department political appointee who is not confirmed by the Senate in charge of the Agency for International Development. And so now someone named Pete Morocco, yeah, that's his real name, will decide how many babies die. He will decide how many people starve. NBC News reports in early 2023, online sleuths who aided the FBI in cases against hundreds of January 6 rioters identified Morocco and his now wife as being among the rioters who stormed the Capitol in 2021, pointing to multiple images of them on the Capitol grounds that day and CCTV video that shows the man they identified as Morocco entering the Capitol through a broken window. That's who's in charge of President Kennedy's creation right now tonight. Pete Morocco. From John F. Kennedy to Pete Morocco, all in Donald Trump's lifetime. In a nation of laws, Pete Morocco would be powerless tonight. And President Kennedy's law would still be delivering life-saving aid around the world.